Hi, my name is Howard. Today, I'm presenting my lore project through a theme that has defined pretty much every chapter of my life: baseball. I was born in Taiwan and immigrated to the US when I was 5. In Taiwan, baseball isn't just a popular sport there. It is the national pastime and a huge part of our culture. Ever since I was a baby, my life was completely surrounded by the game. Before I even fully understood the rules, I just understood the energy of it. There's something extremely fun about growing up in a smaller country like Taiwan when it comes to international sports. Because we're a small nation, international games take on a different level of gravity. It's not just about winning or losing, it's a matter of national pride. When Taiwan takes the field on the world stage, the atmosphere gets 100 times more hyped up than your average sports game. A huge part of how my family bonded was following Taiwanese players who made it all the way to the US to play in the major leagues. It didn't matter how massive the time zone difference was or how early we had to wake up. If a Taiwanese player was stepping up to the plate or taking the mound in the MLB, my family was awake, gathered around the TV, and watching every single pitch. Looking back, baseball was the background to my entire early childhood. It laid the groundwork for my own journey, which truly began when I finally stepped off the sidelines and onto the field. I first joined Little League when I was in 3rd grade. At that time, even though I knew a lot about the game from watching it so much, I was a horrible player. But it didn't matter to me because I was having so much fun finally playing the sport I had been watching on TV my whole life. My favorite memory in Little League is after a long game out in the burning heat, coaches would hand out a Snack Shack ticket which you can save up and buy your favorite snacks from the Snack Shack. My go-to snack after each game was Fruit Roll-Ups because of how sweet they were. Little League ended up being an amazing experience, not just for the sport itself, but because it's where I met some of my lifelong friends and learned my biggest life lessons. Even though I started out pretty bad, I am a quick learner, so I got the hang of it pretty quick. I worked really hard to improve, and eventually I actually made the all-star team during my 2nd year of playing. My team growing up was really good. By the time we were 10 years old, we won section champions and made it all the way to the Northern California finals. Being exposed to that level of winning at such a young age is really what started driving me to constantly want to get better. During that run, I was mostly a bench player, but I still contributed to a lot of our wins by pinch hitting and being the loudest one cheering in the dugout. That experience taught me a huge lesson. It taught me how to find ways to contribute from anywhere, even if you're not the star player. It's a trait that has really helped me adapt and fit into different environments ever since. Baseball has also completely changed my personality. I used to be a very shy kid in school, but the game forced me out of my shells because it taught me the absolute importance of communication. With 9 players on the field, communication is the most important thing you can have. It helped us work together as a real team, and we won a lot of games because of it. Because of baseball, I learned how to open up, speak up, and be loud when my team needed it. However, the biggest thing baseball gave me was perspective on making mistakes. Baseball is ultimately a game of failure. The best players in the world are getting paid millions of dollars to succeed only 3 out of 10 times. Obviously, failing that much can be incredibly frustrating, but dealing with that on the field taught me to develop a growth mindset, and it showed me how to actually learn from my failures instead of letting them shut me down. In baseball, you can prepare all you want for the fastball, but the pitch that really tests you is the curveball and the changeup. It comes when you least expect it, and it completely throws off your timing, forces you to adjust on the fly. Life does the exact same thing. Just when you think things are going smooth, you get thrown a pitch you never saw coming. The first curveball life threw at me happened before I could even walk properly. When I was just 1 year old, my mom got into a really bad car accident back in Taiwan and ended up in a coma for 3 weeks. Because I was just a baby, I obviously don't remember the details of what happened. I just have this faint memory of not seeing my mom for a really long time and wondering where she was. Looking back at it now, it hits me how close I actually came to losing her right at the start of my life. It's scary to think about how completely different my entire world have been without her, and it makes me realize how lucky I am that she made it through. A couple years later, when I was 5, I faced a completely different kind of setback that every athlete hates, an injury. I was playing on the monkey bars, lost my grip and fell off, and fractured my arm. The break was bad, so I had to wear a cast for 6 months, and I couldn't use my right hand at all. Because I'm right-handed, losing my dominant hand forced me to adapt to a completely different lifestyle. Everything felt incredibly uncomfortable and frustrating at first, and I had to learn how to do basic everyday tasks with my offhand, such as brushing my teeth, eating, or changing my clothes. It took a lot of patience, but looking back, it was my first real lesson in adaptability. It taught me how to adjust and find a way to get things done when situations change. Moving on from the struggles, when you look at a baseball team, the players aren't out there figuring everything out on their own. They have coaches. Throughout my life, I've been lucky to have many different coaches who have guided me and taught me extremely valuable life lessons. But the main head coaches in my life, the ones who have impacted me the most, are my mom and my dad. First, I want to talk about my mom. She's easily one of the hardest working and strongest people I know. Like I mentioned before, she has faced so many intense struggles in her life, from the coma to fighting cancer. But no matter what life throws at her, she always keeps her head up and works incredibly hard at whatever she is doing. That kind of resilience is something I look up to every single day. Growing up, she took over the academic side of my life. She was always the one pushing me to do well in school, making sure I stayed on top of my grades and that I didn't slack off. Honestly, when she nags me at everything I do, it gets annoying. But when I actually sit back and reflect on it, I know in the back of my mind that the nagging comes from pure love. She cares so deeply about my future and wants the absolute best for me. Even when I'm too stubborn to see it in the moment, it makes me realize that I really should listen to her more, because she's been through so much and her advice comes from experience. Looking at her life, she taught me that being a good coach isn't just about cheering you on when things are easy. It's about pushing you to be better even when you don't want to hear it. I'm incredibly grateful for her strength, her high standards, and the fact that she never gives up on me. Next up is my dad. He is honestly one of the smartest people I know, and he's someone I have always looked up to. Back when I first started playing baseball, I wasn't really that serious about it. It was just a fun game to pass time. But my dad saw potential in me, and he continuously pushed me to practice and trained me to become a better player. He went above and beyond to support my journey. He even went as far as building a real batting cage right in our backyard. I will always remember those afternoons spent out there with him throwing pitch after pitch for me to hit. He would also take time out of his busy days to take me out to local fields just to practice fielding and get my reps in. But what stands out to me the most, looking back, is that even after coming home with a long, exhausting day of work, when the sun was already completely down, he would still make the time and effort to go outside and play catch with me in the dark. Through those countless hours, he taught me the true meaning of hard work and discipline. I took those lessons he gave me in our backyard and applied them directly to my baseball seasons. Because of that discipline, I went from being a bench player to earning a spot in the starting lineup the very next year. Seeing that direct result of my effort changing my reality was huge for me. And all that hard work led to one of my absolutely favorite memories. We were playing for the title of Northern California champions, and the game happened to fall right on my dad's birthday. During that game, I was able to hit a home run. Seeing the look on his face as I rounded the bases and crossed home plate made me the happiest person ever, and I know he felt the exact same way. It felt like the perfect thank you for every single afternoon he spent pitching to me. Reflecting on it now, my dad showed me what true dedication looks like. He taught me that if you want to succeed in life, you have to put in the quiet hours when nobody is watching. I look up to him so much because he showed me how to be disciplined and how to succeed, one pitch at a time. When you look at a baseball diamond, you quickly realize that you can't win a game by yourself. You need a dugout full of people who are facing the exact same pressures, celebrating the exact same wins, and picking each other up after the tough losses. This part of my journey belongs to my friends and my teammates, the people who have made up my dugout over the years. Growing up playing the sport, your teammates naturally become a second family. You spend countless hours together, traveling to tournaments, sitting through long practices in the heat, and riding in the back of cars, talking about everything and nothing. When you grind through that kind of routine with the same group of guys, a bond forms that is hard to find anywhere else. You create this unspoken language of inside jokes, handshakes, and shared memories that will stay with you long after the finals out of the season. What I love most about the friends I've made through baseball is accountability. In the dugout, there's no room for ego. Your friends are the first ones to call you out when you're slacking off, but they are also the first ones to rush out of the dugout to high-five you when you make a great play. They see you at your absolute worst when you strike out with the bases loaded, and they also see you at your absolute best. Because of that, there's no hiding who you are. The friendships built on a baseball field are incredibly authentic because you've already seen each other fail 1,000 times, and you still have each other's backs. As I transitioned into high school, these friendships only grew deeper. High school can be a pretty overwhelming time for anyone, with the academic pressure, figuring out who you are, and managing everything life throws at you. But having that solid group of friends made all the difference. Even on the days when school felt stressful or things at home were heavy, walking into the locker room or stepping onto the field changed everything. It was like a safe haven for me. For those few hours, nothing else mattered except the games and the guy next to me. But the impact of these friends goes way beyond just the sport. The guys I met on the field became the friends I hang out with every single weekend. We transitioned from talking about batting averages and fielding drills to talking about life, our goals, and our futures. They became the people I could lean on during the moments when life throws curveballs at you. Reflecting on it now, baseball didn't just give me a sport to play, it gave me a community. The wins and losses on the scoreboard fade away pretty quickly, and honestly, years from now, I probably won't remember the score of every game we played, but I will always remember the people. I'll remember the laughter in the dugout, the pre-game music in the locker room, and the feeling that no matter what happens on the field, I have my friends to lean on. Right alongside my teammates in the dugout, there are a couple of other incredibly important figures in my life who have been in the front row for my entire journey. First and foremost is my sister. Growing up, my sister has easily been the closest friend I could ever ask for. We do so many things together, and our bond is something I value so much. Being the older brother, I've always tried to look out for her, and it means a lot to me that she trusts me enough to come to me for advice. One of the things I appreciate most about her is how she showed up for my baseball journey. Anyone who has played night games knows how absolutely brutal the weather can get. There were so many nights where it was freezing cold outside. Seeing her out there in the stands during those miserable, freezing games always gave me a massive boost of energy. It showed me how much she truly cared, and I'll never forget the loyalty. And then, of course, I have to talk about my dog, Murphy. You can't talk about a complete family without mentioning the dog. Murphy has been such a huge source of joy and comfort in our house. The best thing about a dog like Murphy is that he doesn't care if you won the game, struck out, or had a bad day at school. The second you walk through the front door, he is just ecstatic to see you, wagging his tail like you're the greatest person on earth. On the days when baseball was stressful or school was heavy, just coming home and hanging out with Murphy was the perfect way to completely reset and forget about the pressure. As I entered my senior year of high school, the game began to change once again. This time, it wasn't because of an injury or a tough opponent on the field, but because of the realities of growing up. My mom noticed that my grades were starting to slip, and she felt it was due to the massive amount of time and energy I was pouring into baseball. School had to come first. Slowly, I had to start sacrificing my practice time, and as a result, I found myself playing less and less. At the same time, I can't play catch with my dad anymore. He's getting older, and his arm hurts from all those years of throwing to me. And honestly, between school and life, I just don't have that much free time anymore. Sometimes I look out at the backyard cage he built for me, and it brings a wave of nostalgia. It makes me realize how fast time moves and how those effortless afternoons of playing catch under the sun eventually became memories. Even though I'm playing less and less baseball these days, the game hasn't lost its meaning to me. The sport gave me my foundation. It taught me how to step out of my shell and communicate, how to handle failure with a growth mindset, and how to adapt when life throws something at you. You can take the player off the field, but you can't take the lessons of the game out of the player. Looking ahead to college and whatever the next season of my life brings, I know my role with the sport will shift again. I know I might not be putting on the uniform or stepping into a starting lineup anymore, but my passion for the game isn't going anywhere. I'll still have those same late nights or early mornings, watching the screen, screaming at the TV, and cheering for Taiwan on the international stage. I'll still be closely following my favorite players in the MLB and hanging on to every pitch just like my extended family used to do. No matter where I go, or what new curveballs life decides to throw me, I will always carry the discipline my dad taught me, the resilience my mom showed me, and the brotherhood of the dugout with me. Thank you for listening to my story.